So, welcome to Mike Uzio. He's a pen tester at Orange Cyberdefense, and he's going to present you how to get paid and avoid jail. Welcome, Mike.
So, hello everybody. I'm Julian Bitz. No, I'm joking. My name is Uzio Mike, and today I will talk to you about pen test and how to get paid to hack and avoid jail for sure. So let me make a first small presentation of myself. My name is Uzio Mike. I've been working for Orange Cyberdefense since 2018. I start as trainee to get engineer degree, and now I'm working full time for them, and I'm managing the official OC or Orange Cyber Defense Capture the Flag team. I'm also freelance, so in development. So if you want a website or mobile application, just contact me at the end. Today, so yeah, let's get let's get started with the summary. So first of all, I will talk about my job. I will try to explain you what the job of pen tester is, what task can be assigned to you, and the type of the client you will have. For sure, we can talk about money after. After this, I'm gonna show you my operational system and show you the most used tools during a mission. We're going to get to make a demo to get user right without knowing the password of the user Windows computer. And finally, I will advise you to use some platform to progress and learn, and then look for which certification are expected by company, and that will allow you to obtain more and more interesting mission, and also to increase your salary. So what does pen testing mean? The pen test is an art of entering in system, and for that we generally follow the following steps. So first, you need to retrieve an authorization audit. So the get scope on which your IP is declared, and keep in mind that the penalty for hacking without it are really high. Next, we're gonna talk about discovery. So we call that black box test. So you will explore all internet in order to find information about your target. The stage is based on fuzzing, Google Docs, and search for subdomain, port scanners, social media, etc. Once all this data is collected, you will be able to take over the domain present on your authorization and start looking for technology used and version as well. It's important to know the client feedback. Whether it's low or high vulnerability, it's important to take screenshot and keep your query organized until the end of your mission. This will be very useful when you will write the report. So if you find a critical vulnerability, it's important to warn your client as soon as possible. It's also possible that you find may lead to impact concerning confidential data or money. So take care. So for the exploit, sometimes vulnerability is a succession of several actions. So you have the possibility to make script, but it's your choice. In any case, the tests are not intended to remove or make the application unavailable. Let's imagine we found serious vulnerability like SQL injection. As remember, SQL injection is a placement of malicious code in SQL statement in web page input. For the client, you just need to show that it's possible to list database and tables, but otherwise you can just dump the user credential of the application, try to connect with it, and if you get an admin account, you will unlock some functionality restricted to administrator. You can also check OWASP, the Open Web Application Security Project. For full list of vulnerability you can find for web application, for example. Concerning the report, assuming that you have found vulnerability, it's now time to write the report. This will be sent by encrypted email and will contain all security related issue within the scope. Each vulnerability will be sorted in critical order, and this will help your client to fix the critical first thing. Your report will not contain only the problem. It will contain also the solution to correct them. In addition to this, you will write a non-technical conclusion for manager and technician team. This is the only real thing your client will have to prove to get proof of your work. So make an effort when you're writing it. For technical watch, it's useless to tell you uh, you have to be patient because this job will require a lot of time. Just stay curious and keep learning new things. Be interested by new technology, and everything will be fine. So, what type of client will you have? Most of the time, you will have a large company and public institution, but sometimes you can have government for a few missions. What type of pen test? It must be understood that intrusion tests can be ordered by customer for different things. To test the internal infrastructure of his company, we call that internal test. Our test is perimeter exposed to the internet, so we call that external test. In the majority of cases, we talk about website. For external, it means hacking website, mobile app, etc. from internet. And for internal, the usual scenario is as follows. You arrive at company, you connect using cable to obtain IP address. And when you have it, it first goes through a discovery phase and looking for accessible machine. So you have to check which range can you hit. Sometimes there you have some VLAN segmentation in place denying access to some of your target. After this, you're looking for open port on accessible machine that hosts vulnerable servers like HTTP, SSH, or SMB. When you found a critical vulnerability, you can exploit it to take the control of the machine into the domain and elevate privilege until confirmation of domain controller, which hold the password of all the domain users. Sometimes your client will give you a specific flag to obtain, like confidential data or backup. But remember, usually the main goal is to elevate your privilege on the domain and get the administrator rights. So I'm currently, for my setup, using Xubuntu and Blackarch. I recommend you to use VirtualBox and for test and install your tools to keep your stable operational system. When it's an external test, there is a tool that I use a lot, which is called Burp Suite Pro, excuse me. It's a web proxy allow viewing request and response in raw format. Um, it can allow us to attack the web server, for example, by altering or injecting new requests sent to it. After some times, you will realize some tasks can be automated. You will start to write some tools, and it's the case of Yalla and Smerge. Um, yeah, yeah. So for Smerge, um, this okay, excuse me. For example, Smerge is just tools gathering all data related to your mission. You're able to know which domain name has been made and what vulnerability has been found. It's collaborative, so you will know what your colleague have been done or found, and it's really useful when you're pen testing. Concerning Yalla, I wanted to save my time when I'm launching a mission. So this simple little script will create all folder files needed for my pentest, ordered in the way that I will allow me to find my data easily. In extra, we get Cherry Tree, which is database containing basic command for black box or internal tests. And we can find it using link on my slide, and I will share you on Discord or Twitch. So here we go for a small demo. Um, in this live demo, I will try to execute command from computer A to computer B without a password. First of all, you need to find local admin privilege from some way. We have many options for this. We can have 1710 vulnerability or find service with default credential like Tomcat, MS SQL. And it's also possible to find Bluekeep and many other. Once you have it, you have it, yeah. By exploiting vulnerable service. So I mean, I suppose you have the password of the local administrator account now. Just try to replay it on other computer and many range to see where you get admin rights, because most of the time the account are reused on different machine. So we can have it like GBoss, Tomcat, MS SQL. We can also have the account using Kali if we boot on it, and but you have to be in the physical infrastructure. So first of all, it's necessary to understand what an NTLM hash is. To make it simple, it's an hash. It's a fingerprint of the password. It's generated and used by machine in order to not store the user password in plain text on the server. And it's the result of MD4 function without salt. The particularity of this hash is once you obtain it, you can use it directly using specific tools such CrackMap Exec. instead of his password. If you don't know, CrackMapExec is an open source tool that allows pentester to easily execute script remotely to remote machine, to Windows machine using, for example, SMB, but you can use many other protocol. So the goal is to recover administrator hash and try to have the right on the all server and user workstation. I really invite you to read Pixel article which explain in detail this subject. It's possible to specify a word range or single item if you want to be stealthy or not. So let me take my Proxmox and I will show you what's possible to do. So here we go. We have Proxmox with 3 machines, 2 Windows and 1 Linux. So we are going to dump the machine SAM. So the SAM is the file and also register key that contain all the local password of Windows user. So we will dump it using CrackMapExec with a local administrator hash and try to get some domain account user. So we run it and you will watch, yeah, we are dumping the NTLM hash. So just pick excuse me, just pick one of the user from the SAM. Here is an interesting user called Lapool, and I will try to use his hash to execute command on this Windows, on the second Windows, because I know the account Lapool is registered on the first Windows. So we will try to execute a command with like show all the share, for example, using the hash. So here we go. So we just specify the range, the protocol for sure. So SMB here, the range, the user, and his hash. We really don't need his password. It's necessary to know that is something native on Windows. In our typical report, we explain how the administrator of the domain must behave in order to not leave their hash into the SAM. So let's run it. And as you can see, the account Lapool can be used on the first machine at 26126 and on the second machine 127. So we got the right of the user Lapool without his password. So if you are in internal tests, your goal is to try to steal the hash of user who have some right and try to replay it on the on many range. I mean, you can try instead of this range, maybe try on 2.0, for example. And so what computer can you pawn with this? So let me back on my. So that's aside. CrackMapExec SMB you specify the target and the user and the hash, and you specify an option like flag share to get or share. You can also dump some not only using CrackMap exact, but you can use Lassie, which is wrote by Pixie. So yeah. You can also use Python scripts on GitHub called Spraycat. And yeah. So if I can give you some tips, you have to, if you're interested by cybersecurity and you want to be pen tester, you have to learn. The only thing is learn. You have to register. I recommend you to register on platform like RootMe, HackTheBox, TrackMe for sure, and VNUB. You have to be curious. You will read many documentation, but I promise you the goal is really cool. And yeah, if you can get some certification like OSCP, OSCE, etc., you should do it. Why? Because you will have a mission who can be more interesting, and for sure your salary will increase. So thanks for all your attention. And if I was too technical, or if you didn't get some details during the demo, feel free to ask me on Discord, and I'm there to explain, and don't be shy. I will check the Twitch chat too. So thank you.
Okay, so thanks, Mike. If anyone asks questions, feel free to ask them. Also, Mike will be available on Discord if you need after. Join our Discord if it's not down already. And yeah, thanks, Mike, for your presentation. That was anyone have questions? Okay. Yes, Ark, slide will be available after the talk. You will be able to ask them on Discord to Mike.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking for Twitch chat at the moment, and I will try to look Discord too.
Yep. So we'll stay there for 2 minutes, waiting if you have any questions. Yes, Suizy might have a question, and Lamat Space too. Okay, Mike, you have questions, if you want to answer them, good luck with it.
Where did you study? I started in the university, and finally I finished excuse me. I finished to CNAM. I don't know if you can know this. It's a conservatoire. Conservatoire national des arts et métiers. And when did you start pen testing? To be honest, from many years. The pass the hash technique is actually a vulnerability because it seems pretty dangerous. Yeah, it's common way to to bypass and get and execute the command from a user. You can just imagine when you are in the internal test, your goal is to get some hash, try to reply it on many range, yeah. And when you found a user who can be interesting, you just grab it and try to replay on on other range. And yeah, the password on store on server, um, it's only the hash, and that's why it's dangerous because the NTLM hash is equal than password. When you got the NTLM hash of some user, you got the same right of him. It's easy to fix for the company. Yeah, you just have some register and some register key to change. You can do it by JUI, so it's pretty simple. And yeah, we explain this in the report when we to explain to the client. So, have you any other question? So you are attacking system to answer the sure. Yeah, the main goal is to protect them, not hacking for hacking. Uh, sure, I got my salary, but I'm not here to try to download data and say hello, I got your data, so please give me some money. No, the main goal is to have a safe world and and what's the service that you use to do demo with the Kali and Windows Box? It's called Proxmox, Promox. Do you only pen test computer or server, or you tried mobile access, phone, IoT like camera? No. We did we are doing everything. So it can be website, it can be mobile app, it can be camera. We already have like um, GBL to listen the music. We had to pen test this. So yeah, are the mission similar? If yes, couldn't get it right. To be honest, not really. I mean, every Monday, because I told it on the slide, but maybe you didn't saw it. It's one pen test by one client. I mean, by week. So I never get boring because it's always another technology. It's always a new challenge, uh, and it's fun. You just wake up and you try to hack something. To be honest, after 3 years, I'm still not get boring. So I suppose I really like that, and I will try to continue. Yeah, and there is not only the external test like a website. Um, you got internal, and for this is really cool. How much time it's to take your pen testing? I mean, in one mission. To practice on your free time. Oh wait, for one question. So how many times for pen testing? It's 1 week by mission, 4 day for hacking, and 1 day for the report. Sometimes you can speak with the client, and sometimes you you can speak with the client, and if we say no, you can push more, and you give me the report later, but try to push. It's okay. You can do it. So yeah, most of the time it's 1 week, and yeah. And yes, I'm practicing on my free time. Um, because like I said, you have to learn every time. So you have to do sometimes hack the box or something like that, because you will learn um, some small things, uh, but uh, but small things plus small things, etc. And you will watch. You're gonna be a machine, and you're part of Engineering team. Yeah. Yes. 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 Do you work solo on anything from home or from an office? Yeah, a good question. At the moment with the COVID, we everybody work from his home, except if you're doing internal tests, and most of the time when you're on mission, you're probably two. Uh, most of the time, yeah, we are two in the mission, and you can do it from your home or office. It's like you want, and the just things you have to do, if you stay at home, you have to use the attack server, which the IP is declared in the authorization, and use this server to make your attack. I can't just connect to my Wi-Fi here and start scan. I can start like a Nmap scan, for example, with my IP. I have to make a proxy socks tunnel, and use proxy chain to use Nmap, or just use Nmap on the attack machine if we have it. How many hours a day do you work? Um, uh, I mean 7, probably 7 or 8. Um, I'm usually wake up at 9, and we end at 8:18. I mean, which documentation would you recommend to get basics in cybersecurity and pen testing? Life goal. Yeah, you don't imagine, man. You don't imagine. Recommend. So for the documentation, I think you will have found the documentation, it depends of the subject you will try to get. I mean, there is some challenge like in RootMe, for example, like the PDF. So you will have to learn how you create a PDF, how you create a section into PDF, how to hide something into, uh, etc. And finally, you will you know what you want, so you will try to search on Google and get the good article for the thing you're looking for. So I don't have many documentation, etc. Probably recommend you some website like Jelusha website. I will write you on Discord on Twitch if you want. You can read the Pixie blog. I I talk about it in my slide, so you can grab the link. And yeah, that's all. What's your nickname and platform? Like the box wrote me, it's Jenny. Yeah, thanks, Zenhacks. Do you have any other question? Yeah. In 1 week, you often find vulnerability or true? No, you're right. You're right. I have to validate my flag. So yeah, most of the time when you got a client, you always find vulnerability. Sometimes it's high, so sometimes it's low, but you always find something. You Yeah, always there is always small things to where the client can be better.
Okay, so thank you, Mike. There is still 1 minute for questions if you have one left. If you have any more questions, link in the chat for the Discord. Please, admins, drop the link of the Discord. And so you will be able to ask more questions if you want on Discord to Mike. Yeah, another question.
Okay. Do you have a report any CV? Yeah, I reported some, like 5 or something like that. Yeah. It's not difficult. I mean, just look for just if you want to find your first CV, just try to go on GitHub, find CMS or something like that, and install it on your post using Docker if you can, and just try to find Vue. When you got it, you just have to see your details, get the form to submit the vulnerability. You will have some question like which is the impact, so on many things. Just explain what you found. You just describe the vulnerability. You can use a screenshot your query, and you submit it. And most of the time, 2 days after submit, you will have a CVA, excuse me, number. And yeah, it's not so difficult, but it depends of the on the target for sure. What do you think? What?
Okay, so yeah, last question, and then we have to continue and go for the technical part.
Yeah, so what do you think about Happy Tech School to learn cybersecurity and the reputation to our company? I think if you go to Happy Tech, you have to be strong in your head. I mean, it's possible to code like C program when you never done it before. So it can be hard, but if you make the effort and I think it's not bad school, but the license or the degree you will have at the end, it's not recognized by everybody. Yeah, so yes, it's back plus 5, but nobody will tell you it's not a real degree. It's only recognized by Epitech and some school. So just take care about this, because if you switch and go to another country, they maybe will not take this graduate be serious.
Okay, so thanks, Mike, for your presentation and for replying to questions. So now we are going to let the stream go for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back with a talk from Mathis Amel. So thank you, Mike, and here we go for the break. Voilà, mieux vaut. So welcome to Mati Samel. He is a co-founder at H25 and deputy CTO at Society. He is going to present you cryptography gone wrong. Welcome, Mathis.
So I should be good now. So hi everyone. I see there's friends of mine already in the chat. Thank you. Be nice, please. So today we're going to talk about cryptography. So let's get into it. I'll get a chance to introduce myself along the way. So today we're going to have a look at 3 major cryptographic disasters in the past decade. It was originally 4, but I decided to make it a bit shorter, so we have more time to get into the details and the real deep of cryptography. And so you'll have a chance to get an introduction to several concepts. So yeah, let's get into it. So first, a bit about myself. So you can find me on Twitter if you want. That's where you can reach me anytime. My DMs are open and feel free. So I'm a director of cybersecurity research and development at Sogeti, which is a large company in France, part of Group Capgemini. And also I'm the co-founder of a startup called H25, which organizes CTFs and coding competitions, such as Battle Dev. So make sure you're registered for Battle Dev. So that's it about me. So let's talk about crypto a bit. So when I mean crypto, of course, I don't mean cryptocurrency. So crypto, basically, it's a solved problem. I'm going a bit far by saying that, but basically, it's in theory, with only maths, you can get pretty much any unbreakable communication kind you want. The only problems are in practice. So there are 3 main categories of crypto failures, which are implementation. So flaws in the implementation, like you can maybe see in like some stuff like Spectre attack or something like that, which are which mean you can leak data using only the side channels and stuff like that, or bad implementation. So it's in the code, or a bad usage. Sometimes you use a strong crypto system, but you use it bad, so it makes it really inefficient and ineffective in terms of safety and privacy. And the third one is key safety. So if someone manages to steal your private keys, for example, well, it's basically the same as if you have no crypto. So, but key safety is more all of the other branches, like web safety or web security or stuff like that. So it's still another branch. And the main issue, I think, with cryptographic issues compared to other stuff is it can basically go unnoticed, and you can not even realize that someone is intercepting your communication and decrypting them using a vulnerability, and that can be also very critical to your systems, as well as someone being root on your server. This time you have like someone reading all your exchanges or encrypted secrets, and you may not even realize it because the attacker most of the time doesn't even have to be on your system, so they can leave no trace. So cryptography is still an important topic, even though that's like something that's solved in theory. So yeah, we're gonna today focus on 4 failures, which are Linux encoder 1, GoToFail, Heartbleed, and eFail. So these are like big names, especially Heartbleed, which you probably have heard about like a few years ago. And we're gonna get a deep dive into them and like read some source code even to show you exactly where the thing is, instead of just like doing a blog like, yeah, there was a vulnerability here and that's about it, and just explain it in in a wide way. Here we're gonna dive in the code and see exactly where the bug is. Don't worry, it's not gonna be too complicated. Like, I swear I'm not gonna show you like hundreds of lines of code. We're gonna just cherry pick the right ones, and it's gonna be fine. So let's start with Linux Encoder 1. Wait, I'm just checking. Okay. So Linux Encoder 1 was first ransomware for Linux machines. So first reported one. It went out in around 2015. So it's a very simple crypto locker, and it targets the main directories, like important stuff, like only the user root directory and some web stuff to encrypt, like your PHP code if you want. It only deserves to be encrypted anyway, PHP. And so, and to decrypt it, it asks you for 1 Bitcoin. Well, at the time it was worth way less than that, but so Linux Encoder 1 was a very simple crypto locker. We'll get into that, but first, before understanding how ransomwares work, we're going to need to just present two notions, like in no detail at all, just the concepts. So symmetric cryptography and asymmetric cryptography. So the main two in these areas are AES and RSA. I'll let you get into that if you want. It's super interesting. So symmetric cryptography. Basically, inside the box. Oh, I'm just gonna get my pointer. Yeah. So inside the box, you'll have the shuffling functions that shuffle the data around based on a key. And the decryption function works exactly as the inverse. And in theory, without the key, you shouldn't be able to decrypt the plane. And the important thing to notice here is that the key is the same for encryption and decryption. That's why it's called symmetric decryption. And symmetric cryptography. So that's about it. So it's basically encrypt and decrypt with the same key. Got it? Okay, now asymmetric cryptography, get ready. It's same stuff, except you have two keys. So you can use basically both keys to do interesting stuff. Here we are only interested in encryption. So you use someone's public key. So it's the key that this key can be public, like it said. Everyone can know it, and you cannot deduce the private key from the public key. And the private key is the one used to decrypt the data. So basically, if you want to send something secure to someone, you encrypt it with their public key, sorry. And then no one, not even you, can decrypt the data, even if you have the key that was used for encryption. And then this person can get their private key and decrypt the data for you and understand your message. So that's it. That's the asymmetric cryptography. It's called asymmetric because, well, there's no symmetry. There are two different keys. Yes, that's about it about symmetric and asymmetric cryptography. This one also, it's also sometimes called public key cryptography. So now, how does a ransomware work? Basically, I'm not taking too many risks by saying that ransomwares work pretty much all the same. There's a few variants, but the main differences are in terms of implementation and antivirus detection and evasion techniques. But the cryptographic concepts under the hood are about the same. And so they use a bit of both symmetric and asymmetric crypto. And their goal is to, so a ransomware, if you don't know, it's something that locks you out of your PC, like locks all your files and makes everything unavailable. And someone asks you like, okay, now I've all your files in hostage, and you have to pay me if you want to recover them. Okay. So let's go through the steps of encryption of crypto locking someone's PC. Please don't try this at home. I don't want to be legally responsible. So first, you generate a random symmetric key. So this one is specific to the victim, and it's generated sometimes for every file. It's the case for Linux encoder 1. And so you generate a random symmetric key. So it will be used for symmetric cryptography like AES. Then you encrypt all the victim's files with it. That's plain and simple. You take your cryptographic function, encrypt, and store the file. Then you delete the original file, so the user, the victim, well, just has their encrypted version. So now if the user only has this, so the key and the files, it's easy to recover the originals because it's symmetric cryptography. The same key can be used for both directions. So that's it. And now what you do with the key is encrypted with the attacker's public key. So only the attacker will be able to decrypt this key after that. And then of course you delete the key. And then on your victim's computer, you have the encrypted files and the encrypted key. And that's it. Okay, and now what happens? Well, the victim can only recover their files using the random key, but the random key is now encrypted. So that's an issue. And who can decrypt it? It's only the attacker, because only the attacker has their own private key. And usually it's unbreakable if you use good enough parameters. And of course, the attacker won't do it for free. They want you to pay them for getting your own decryption key. So, well, Linux encoder 1 was a huge failure in terms of cryptography because there was a way to recover the files pretty much super easily without too much trouble. And so let's do some reverse engineering. I do believe you have also a conference from Tanguy Dubroca, Sideway, which is way better at that than I am. But well, I managed to do it because it was a very simple file to reverse engineer. There was like no obfuscation at all, no packing, no nothing like that. So it was really a piece of cake. And so we're gonna have a look at some screenshots, which are taken from IDA Pro, which is a disassembler and decompiler used for reverse engineering. So here's the process. So that's what I told. So how the CryptoLocker works, it's you generate, I'm gonna get my pointer. Okay. You open here the file, the plain text file. You open as well a path to the new file where you want to write the encrypted data, the encrypted file. Then some logic there, and you generate the key for AES, so the symmetry key. And here it's the function called roundstring. Roundstring generates a 16-byte key. There's as well something called the IV, which is, you can consider it as well part of the key. It's a bit more complex than that, but it's the second part of the key. You can consider it. And same here, you generate random bytes in the IV. Then what's that? Oh yeah, the key is encrypted with the public key of the attacker here with this function. So it's called enkeylen. No, it's the length of the key. And then you write in the encrypted file. So it's called v7 here. It was in a variable. You write some data which will be used to recover the file. So the length of the original file, the length of the key, the IV, And then using that, the decrypting tool will be able to recover those. So yeah, that's about it. I won't get into too much detail in there, but yeah, it's some crypto stuff to encrypt the file. And now you might be wondering, where's the bug? So what I presented you was like exactly textbook was an implementation of a crypto locker, as I showed you. So where's the bug? First of all, here's the generation of key and IV, so which are the two values that we want to hide from the user if you don't want them to recover their own files. Well, first of all, this one, so it's the key generation function. It was called run string. This one, it's only on character set of 69, so it was letters, digits, and some punctuation, I think. Well, it's usually if you take AES, so symmetric keys, the key can be any bytes. So well, this one may be for being able to be written by hand, but I don't really see why. But the key space still stays enormous, and you cannot brute force it, even if it's a bit smaller in terms of a character set. It's still 16 characters, so that's a bit huge. And the IV is same. Okay, the common thing that you can see in here is the round usage of the random function. This one, it's very important because many RNGs, so they have a cool feature called seeds. It's basically an initial value that you give to the generator, and well, if you don't care about the seed, you give it any seed, and it just decides to produce you random numbers. And if you give it twice the same seed in two different executions, the number generated will be exactly the same. So it's important when you do crypto that your seed is random. So usually you pick in random source to take the seed. You never like seed with 0. If you seed with like a number, a fixed number, the program will behave in exactly the same way every time. And with cryptography, it's rarely a good thing. And so using round is dangerous, and you need to use a strongly random seed. But the issue is that in the code, they initialize, so their seed is the time. So the current time in seconds since January 1st, 1970, which means that if you manage to recover the time at which the attack was made, you can initialize your RNG with exactly the same and generate the exact same keys and IVs that was used for the attack. So you have no trouble recovering your files. So now recovery and decrypting the files without the help of the attacker, if I may say the help, becomes trivial. So first you find when the attack started, then well, you initialize your RNG, the same RNG as the program with that start time. Then you can generate all the symmetric keys and IVs. And then with that, once you have all the keys, you can decrypt all the files. So basically, instead of just decrypting the symmetric key using the attacker's private key, like he was, like the attacker was intending at first, you're just generating the same keys again, and so you're not even decrypting them. You're just generating them again. So that was about it for the first cryptographic disaster. I'm not sure if I may say disaster for a malware that worked badly, but we're gonna have a look into two more vulns. They're gonna be a bit shorter because we already went through some notions. So let's have a look into GoToFail. It was a vulnerability in 2014 in certificate checking in Safari. And basically every iOS and OS X, so every device made by Apple, was affected. If you use Safari, there was this big flaw that makes HTTPS completely worthless. So that's a bit strong, yeah. thankfully, someone realized it and reported it before before it was exploited in the wild. Let's hope. So let's do a quick intro to TLS. So HTTPS basically, so TLS, it's what you add to HTTP to make it HTTPS. It makes you secure against someone intercepting your communications. So if you don't want someone to watch you browse the internet, you add HTTPS instead of HTTP, and it makes it it encrypts the communications basically. And so it's someone intercepting your communications. It's called the man in the middle, so MITM. So how does HTTPS work? I'm going to simplify it a bit, but for the purposes of this talk, you're not going to need much more. So the internet is basically two computers communicating with each other. So here on the left is me, on the right is google.com server, and I'm saying hi, I'm connecting. Google replies, hi, I'm google.com, and here's something to prove that I am google.com. That's called a certificate. And basically, it's their own public key that you use for communication. It's their own public key, and it's signed. It's signed by a certificate authority, which means like some universally recognized entities like Let's Encrypt, that those entities, so the CAs, can say, okay, yes, you are google.com. I give you this certificate that you can then give to your users if you need it. And so then the process continues. Like I say, let's communicate using this key. I send an encrypted key to google.com, and then the encrypted communication start. And so encrypted HTTP is effectively HTTPS. So that's about it. And the important thing today that we're going to focus on is certificate. So here's the code, some code that was in Safari. Let's dive into it. And you may see why it's called go to fail, because this line is repeated a lot of times, go to fail. And actually it's repeated a lot of times, and it's repeated a bit too many times, if you can notice it. On this line, there was an accidental, well, supposed accidental duplication of code in this line, which was a double. And this is a huge problem, because actually what it does, so it's some C code. In C, if you don't put the brackets after your if, only the next statement counts as if it were inside of the if. So what this code does is actually this. So if I put you back the brackets, this go to fail is normal, is as expected, but this one, actually, it's executed all the time. And so this code is unreachable, which is so error, it's the error code. So you just run some functions, update the computation of signatures and stuff like that. And then if you fail, you just free some buffers and then return the error code. So the error code that was generated in those lines. The only issue is that error code is always 0 at the start, and then if everything goes fine, it returns 0 if everything is okay. So what you can see is you go to fail, so you never execute this code, including the verification of the certificate, and the returned error code has never been set, because we've never had encountered an error before. So basically it returns 0 and it says, okay, everything is fine. But the issue is that SSL, so the certificate is never checked actually. So basically, a server sends you, hey, I'm google.com, here's the proof. You don't even check the proof. So yeah, the attack in practice, it's simple in concept, while in practice it may be a bit harder to do. But if you're the man in the middle, you intercept the connection of your target. You pretend to be the server, So you say, hey, yes, I'm google.com, of course, even though you're absolutely not, and you don't own the certificate of google.com. You negotiate protocol TLS 1.1. This was a bit outdated protocol, but you can still, if you pretend like, no, I'm not compatible with TLS 1.2, the vulnerability was only in the TLS 1.1 code, which is also why it was not noticed, because like every server, like 99% of server already were on 1.2 at the time. And so 1.1 was very rarely used, but every device was still compatible. And so you give them the Google certificate, but you give them your own public key for encryption. And then the check that verifies that the certificate and the public key matches was not executed. So you are now impersonating the server, and this is not absolutely not visible to the user. So that's a big one. Well, that's about it. I thought there was a one more slide, but that's okay. So now let's talk about the last one of the day, which was Heartbleed. This was a bug in implementation of OpenSSL. So OpenSSL is basically a huge toolkit for cryptography. If you ever do anything with cryptography, you're gonna encounter that tool, which is very practical and does a lot of stuff. But at that time, so CV 2014-0160, it's a large bug that affected a lot of users. So it's not cryptography per se. So it's not exactly cryptography, but I think it still fits the category. And so many servers were affected, and as security researchers love to do, they always find a cool name and a nice heart. Sorry, a nice logo. This was so Heartbleed. So how does Heartbleed work? So it's based on something called TLS Heartbeat. So TLS, we talked a bit about it earlier. Here we have another functionality that is rarely used, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's called a heartbeat. So it's between two computers, so a client server. And you want to check that the other one is still here, is still connected, still alive, because maybe you don't want to waste any resources storing and computing for a computer that for a client that is disconnected and has left. So you can say basically, hey, are you still there? Send me this message if you're still there, to verify that it's this message and not an outdated one that was only received late. And so what the other computer does is parse the message and send you back what it contained. Very simple. And the code as well is very simple. So there's a bit of a structure for this message. So this is the kind of structure of the message that goes over the network. So there's a type. The type is basically if it's a request or a response. The length of the payload. So the payload here is the potato123. It's a random message. I think it's like 16 bytes by default. And so then you have the payload. Then you have the padding which is just random data of 16 bytes to make the message a bit more random. And that's the heartbeat message. So it's a C language structure. And in OpenSSL, so let's have a look in the code. In the bottom right, I put you what the code looks like, the previous structure that I've shown you. And so here, the query, sorry, is how the client, well, one of the two devices, the one initiating the request, creates the structure. So first, you have the message type, so it's made here. Then you have the payload creation, so it's basically gives you something called N2S and creates the payload and puts it into the length. And then you copy the payload into the message as well, so in the right memory section, in the right variable. And it's basically what happens. The padding is a bit later in the code. So that was about it on the client side, on the initiator side, I say. And on the receiver side, it's basically, so you pass the message and you send back only the payload in another structure to prove that you're still there. So what happens? So the type, you put it in heartbeat response. Then you copy the payload length as well. Then you do a memcopy. So this one, memcopy is a very important C operation. Basically, you take the source, the destination. So you say, okay, I copy from here to here, and I copy that many bytes. Here, payload is the payload length, which is a bit weird, but that's it. And so you copy this memory section and this memory section into this memory section for this many bytes. And then you add some random padding. Okay, so the payload length, the main issue here, it's very not obvious at first, but the vulnerability is very simple. So the payload length is client provided, and the payload also is also client provided, but so the two of them are linked together, the length and the payload, but actually they're never checked. So here you can say, okay, here I'm going to give you a large number. So this is the largest number that you can put inside the uint16. And in the payload, you only put a very small text. So here, if I send just the X, this should be 1, the length. But here I send a very large number. And what the code does is says, okay, I have the payload here, and I'm going to copy that many bytes into the response. And so actually you can read data from other parts of the code, because you can get beyond the end of this string, and so it can read some random RAM that was present on the server at that time. Yeah, so basically what it does is here. So let's say this is the memory of my program. So here's the string X, and PL is only 1 byte, but payload, which is the length of the payload, it's large. So the computer at the other end sends back the entire section here, which is like 60,000 bytes. And in there you can get pretty much anything. You can get private keys, private information, anything that can transit on the server, which were mainly keys at the time, which were the others were looking for. And you do that a lot of time, and you can leak a lot of RAM from the other computer, and they basically send you voluntarily all the contents of their RAM a bit randomly, and so you can get some secret data in there. And the patch was very easy. If so the length of the payload is more than expected, you just return the 0. So the fix was super easy, and that's the case with most large breakthroughs in cryptography, like in disasters, in vulnerabilities. Like the fix is only a few lines long as well, and this one is only 2 lines and very easy to understand. So yeah, let's finish on this note. So it's called Hanlon's razor. Basically, it's always assume positive intent. So you never say, oh, this was obviously planted by someone who wanted to cause damage. It's always explainable by just someone equally stupid. So don't get on a witch hunt every time you hear about a new flaw. I mean, we are all pretty much developers and know how stupid we can be at times. So now it's time to take some questions. First question I put in there because I didn't want to forget that one. Sorry. And then you can find me on all the networks that were in the bottom right. So I'm taking a look at that right now. Sorry. It was closed. So now you ask your questions again if you want. So I'm going to take the first question, which was how do I get started learning cryptography? This one was so getting started in cryptography. I think there are mainly two ways, which are, well, you can like study in any higher education program based on maths and cybersecurity, and you'll at some point you'll have some cryptography, but I don't think that's the right way to learn cybersecurity, any kind of cybersecurity. I believe you should be learning by yourself. And so resources that I would recommend are RootMe, of course. There are some very cool cryptography stuff, even though I don't really love the fact that there's very rare stuff that takes as many challenges as very important stuff that you'll encounter all the time in CTFs and in real life. So a bit balanced on RootMe, but for anything else, it's very good. Otherwise, I would say another big platform is CryptoHack, I think, or if you have some in the chat. But yes, CryptoHack. There is another one that I don't remember, but which is quite recent. So that's right. Okay. Pre-written questions, survey questions. Yes, that's me. Okay. Another question: how important are maths in crypto? Very damn important. Even though I have a bit of applied math background, I don't consider myself good at math, and it sometimes can give me trouble, especially in CTF on some dark challenges that you have to like put equations down. So yeah, so if you want to do only symmetric cryptography, you're fine not understanding a bit of math, because it's more about logic and thinking about how things work. There's rarely math in there, but if you want to do like symmetric or even post-quantum cryptography and stuff like that, you'll need a lot of math. Yeah, crypto is basically math. Okay, other questions? Oh, I see you've launched the hype train. What about Adrian encryption? I don't know about that one. Should be banned in France, I believe. All right. Yeah, I should have pre-written a bit more questions to make you not sleep. So, well, yeah, I think we have a few more minutes. Oh, if you want, so no more questions. So at the beginning, I was telling you about there were initially four flaws, 4 disasters that we're gonna study, and I made it down to 3. But since we have a bit of time, I'm gonna just do the last one, which is a bit of a bonus. I have left it at the end of my slides. What are the notions that are very important when you learn cryptography? First, so RSA, AES, so symmetric, asymmetric cryptography. There's also random number generation, which is sometimes used in a lot of stuff. And yeah, one thing that I really like is so in symmetric cryptography, there's like a lot of modes of operation. So you might have heard of ECB, CBC, CFB, some stuff like that, and understanding how that works and how you can exploit the different ones in different situations is, in my opinion, the most fun part of cryptography. Okay. Do I think backdoors exist in cryptography systems? Oh yeah, of course there's backdoors. I don't believe there's a lot of them. I'm not even sure there's backdoors in like OpenSSL and stuff like that. But everything that's like not entirely of, I don't know, everything that may have an interest in breaking security of someone, there probably be backdoors if there's enough money. Well, let's get into eFail, and then I'll take your questions, but I leave the chat open so you can ask them. So eFail, let's go into eFail a bit. So this one I've not worked on it again, so it might be a bit raw with absolutely no notions whatsoever on cryptography. So well, hang in there. It takes like 5 minutes. So eFail. This was a set of 3 flaws found in SMIME and OpenPGP and some clients like Thunderbird and well, most clients actually. And like pretty much everyone was vulnerable. So SMIME, OpenPGP, all that stuff is basically what you use to encrypt emails. And this one is a bit special because you can decrypt an encrypted email using the victim's key. So the victim's key never leaves their computer. You never get access to it, but you can still make them use it to decrypt it for you, to decrypt stuff for you. So one of these attacks, which is the most simple attacks of eFail, it uses mixed content type. We're going to see in a second what it's about. And so basically, mixed content type is you have some part of your email that's encrypted and some part that is plain text. It can be used sometimes if you like send different files or stuff like that. But yeah, we're gonna take an example that's not realistic at all, but so you can understand how it works. So how does a multi-part email work? So that's the message, how it looks like. So we have the headers first, the most important header, so the from, the to, and the content type is multi-part mixed. So it says to the email client, okay, this is a multi-part email. And so we have boundaries, and you can put different content types in between in each section. Sorry. So this one is text HTML, so it's plain text. And so it says, hi, Bob, we have updated all access codes for the office. The new passcode is, so this one is plain text. And then this part is encrypted with a lot of stuff. And only Bob can decrypt it. So this one is encrypted with Bob's public key, sorry, and they can decrypt it using their own private key if they want to access the email. And so this Bob doesn't have to like input his private key and everything like that. His email client does that for him. So yeah, we have the first part of the body, which is plain text, and then this is encrypted, and only Bob can decrypt this part. And so the email client doesn't show you anything. It just like concatenates all the parts of the email, and after decryption, of course. And so here is what Bob will see. The new passcode is 1234. This is the part that was encrypted, and now it's not anymore. So how does eFail work? It's very simple. You intercept an encrypted email, such as the one that I've shown you. So you're the man in the middle, and you're going to craft a new email using this encrypted part, the secret that you want to know, in a malicious payload. So you're going to put some stuff around in it. I'm going to show you in a second. And the victim will decrypt the encrypted part for you because they receive an email with an encrypted part. The client will decrypt it. And then the payload will make sure that the decrypted content will be leaked to you. So how it works. So I'm the attacker. I want to decrypt this secret part, which was a 1234 encrypted. What I do is I send Bob this email. So the first part is image tag in HTML. We give it a source, which is like attacker.com/. So you can notice we don't close the quote here. The quote stays open. And then we paste the exact same block that we want to decrypt. So the thing that Alice sent to Bob earlier, which is the secret passcode. And then at the end, we add another boundary, which is the second part of the payload, which is just the quote ending and the HTML tag closing. And so what this does, when Bob receives that email, Bob will decrypt the encrypted part, and as I've shown you earlier, will concatenate all the parts and interpret it. So what here is shown in Bob's email box is this tag, which is then interpreted if HTML is enabled, like most email clients. And so it will create an image tag, which is attacker.com/1234. And so now the secret part is decrypted, and the email client will automatically try to download the image to show it in the email. And so attacker.com, if I'm the attacker and I have access to this server, I just have to look at the logs, at the server logs, and see what people have tried to download. And here is my secret part. And so, well, the two other attacks on eFail work a bit the same way, but they used CBC and CFB gadgets. I'll let you look into it if you want. And there was a similar flaw in PDF as well, which was called PDFX, went public 2 years ago. So yeah, that's about it. Let's go back to this one. Okay, no more questions? Well, so yeah, feel free to join our Discord. Yeah, messages. Oh. And then, okay, well, I guess that's time for me. So if, can I explain a bit how RSA communication encryption system works? RSA, so it's asymmetric cryptography, so it means you have two different keys, but it's based on pretty much very simple math, actually, even though it's not simple. It's based on prime numbers. So the two keys that are different are the public key is two prime numbers multiplied together, and the private key is the knowledge of those two prime numbers. And it's very hard to factor a large number, which is a problem that we don't yet know how to solve efficiently, not without quantum computing. And so you do some math operations that you can encrypt easily, but to decrypt, you need to know the decomposition of those two numbers. And so that's where the private key comes into play. And the person who knows what those two prime numbers are can decrypt easily the message that was encrypted with the public key. All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending. And if you have any more questions, feel free to contact me on any of those three things. If you like Twitch, I think we are gonna stream this week some coding, maybe, I don't know. But come on the Discord, and you'll be notified.
Okay, so thank you, Mathis, for your presentation. We're currently writing your Discord server link on the chat. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so yeah, join the Discord of H25 with MathsML if you want to join the stream this week. We are also streaming this week with English Week, so the Discord server is a little bit upper. So yeah, thanks, Mathis, for your presentation. If anyone has questions, ask them on Discord. And that was a great talk. Thank you. Perfect.
Thanks.
So see you everyone. See you this afternoon for more presentations about AI and yeah, computer vision. So thank you all. See you and have a nice day. Thanks.
Bye.